Welcome to the Transform with Jen podcast. I'm Jen. I really appreciate you being here. Why are you here though? Probably you're here for the very thing that I can help you with, healing emotionally. On this podcast, you're going to learn how to utilize the 2 pillars of healing. Number 1, rewiring your subconscious belief patterns. Number 2, releasing negative trapped emotions from your body. We do that by means of the 4 phases of healing, which are forgiveness, emotional release, individual purpose, and vision. I developed this process on my own out of desperation after experiencing a series of severely traumatic events that led me to PTSD. If you love someone who is stuck in the same cycles of triggering and self-sabotage, consider sharing this episode with them. If not, all good. Let's get right into the show.
Is there a way to encourage my husband needing this too, but he doesn't see it?
So the way that you would have to encourage him, or that he could see that he needs it, is tying it to what he sees as problems. So you can't just go to a man and say, hey, you need to heal, or hey, let's heal. Like if I said that to the majority of my guy friends, they'd be like, you're crazy, I'm good, I'm sweet, whatever. So it's more like, what are their specific pain points? Like, is it finances? Is it they're not getting enough in the bed, right? Is it if they're single, if they can't get rid of their beer gut, right? If they it has to be tied to their specific pain. Like, so when you were telling me about everything that you're doing, I had I found it interesting, but I never thought anything of working with you, right? You're like, I do this energy work, until you literally said, oh yeah, at one point I was wanting to do a program like to help guys find their future mates or their ideal mates. That lit, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to talk to her. I'm going to ask her about it later. As soon as it was tied to my really specific pain point. So, but the thing is, healing ties to everything. It literally ties to all pain points. But it's about getting them to see that. That this is the reason. It's not that you can't get ahead in your job and your boss hates you and, your industry sucks. It's you have these different patterns, whatever it is that's holding you back in your career, right? If that's their thing. It's not that you have bad genes and you hate going to the gym. It's you have these traumas, everyone has them, that's causing you to feel like you're not worth it, like you don't have the abilities, and then you self-sabotage, you go back to the beers, you go back to, that's why, and I think a lot of you guys probably are aware, if they're alcoholics and porn, alcohol is probably 2 huge ones for guys, go on benders. And I mean, once you're get to past 25, benders don't feel that great anymore. You kind of feel crap, oh man, what did I do? Right. So if you're talking about these guys that's 45, I'm sure they feel terrible.
Or even if they have to have a drink every night.
Right. So it's why do you need to have a drink every night? Why do you how many times have you told yourself you're going to quit X, Y, and Z? How many times have you told yourself you're going to quit porn?
Video games.
How many times have you told yourself, I'm done with video games? What pain was that causing you? Obviously, for you to want to quit like that, it was causing you a lot of pain. And then you try to find happiness in the same thing that was just causing you all this pain. And it becomes a cycle. So what do you need to do to break that cycle? Something is in you that needs to snap.
So she needs to find out what is really bothering him, not what is bothering her.
Exactly. That's a great way to say it. And she probably knows that, as his wife. I'm sure she knows, but it has to be, from the perspective of oh, you make me feel, insecure when you yell at me when you're drunk. It's more you told me how bad you feel about drinking and that your dad was an alcoholic and how many times you had to quit, and you had that meeting with the elder last month, and how you're determined, and then you're back at the bottle. What's going on? What's going on with that? Why do you feel the need to do that? There's something that you're not able to conquer in yourself, that you obviously can't do it just by yourself, right? That you need to heal.
He doesn't have a belief that he can do it.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't trust. He's lied to himself over and over again. So how does he that?
Right.
Let me ask you this. For a lot of men, getting help, just actually the process of getting help they might view it as demeaning.
Yeah.
What would you say to men who feel like, oh, I don't want to be vulnerable, like that's weird talking to a girl, like I don't want to talk about my problems? What would you say to a man who says, yeah, I know I need help, but like I have this barrier of entry because
Yeah, I say you need to just bite the bullet, swallow your ego a little bit on it. Like you're either going to face your ego or you're going to face the problems that you're facing all the time. And I'd say it's actually it's braver. I know this sounds like kind of cliche, but it's braver to go face it than you just think, oh, I'm fine, I'll just whatever, I'll deal with it, right? Like actually like facing your fears and facing that and opening up and like being vulnerable is the strength, you know?
I like that. It definitely takes more strength to be vulnerable than it.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes more strength to be, and it's kind of like we just learned in the Watchtower. Like it takes more strength to be mild, right?
Yes.
The world views being mild as like this weakness, but it's like, no, letting your emotions get the better of you, and that's weak. That means you didn't have the power to constrain your emotions. Being mild is actually strong. Same with being vulnerable. It's actually weak to not be vulnerable because you're saying I'm too sensitive. You know, if you're opening up, that's real strength.
Right,
You
like
know,
the man
that's-
that passes up on fighting rather than punch somebody in the face when he knows it's not going to be good for
Right.
anybody involved.
Exactly.